Pause for a moment and ask yourself, what if this very day, this very moment was the last in your life? Would you live differently? Would the ordinary suddenly become extraordinary? Would you savor the breeze on your skin, the warmth of the sun, the sound of a loved one's voice? Or perhaps you'd be filled with regrets about what was left unsaid, undone, unexperienced. We sometimes think about time, yet it is the only thing that governs our lives completely. Time is the silent force pushing us forward, never letting us stand still. But there is one certainty that awaits us all, whatever we acknowledge it or not, our morality. In this journey together, I invite you to explore the profound relationship between time and morality, not as something to fear, but as a gateway to a deeper, more meaningful existence. Time. What is time? It is a linear thread we follow from birth to death, or it is, as some believe, cyclical, a wheeling turning endlessly, repeating itself over and over again. For centuries, philosophers have asked, what is time and how do we experience it? Plato once said, time is the moving image of eternity. To him, time was not simply a human construct, but a reflection of something far greater, representation to the infinite, woven into finite lives we live. But what of us? How do we, mere mortals, perceive this vast and elusive thing called time? To the young, time seems endless. A child might feel that a year is structured or forever, but to the elderly, a year is but a fleeting moment, a blink in the vastness of their memories. This is desperately beautiful captured by poet William Blake when he said, to see a world in a grain of sand and heaven in a windflower. Hold my infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. Time is just not a measure of days, hours, and minutes. It is subjective. It speeds up when we are in love, when we are joyful, when we are lost in the beauty of a moment. And it slows down in time of sorrow, grief, or pain. Time bends our emotions or experiences. In truth, time is more than a clock ticking on the wall. It is the canvas on which we can paint the story of our lives. Yet, how often do we truly recognize the gift of time? How often do we rush through our days consumed by tasks, distractions, and the noise of the world? We wake, we work, we sleep, only to do this all again tomorrow. But tomorrow is never promised. There's a saying, we live if we have infinite time, but we all die as if we had none. We push off what's meaningful, our dreams, our passions, our connections, thinking there will always be more time. But time, in its quiet way, is slipping away from us every second, every minute. It is not the length of time that matters, but what we feel to it. The philosopher Seneca wrote in his famous essay on the shortness of life, it is not what we have a short time to live, but what we waste a lot of it. We waste time worrying about things are beyond our control. We wanted chasing after things that in the end will not matter. Then, before we know it, our time is up. Let's shift now to the other side of this delicate balance, morality. Is it that the death in the greater equalizer, no matter who we are, no matter what we achieve, Death comes for us all. From ancient times, humans have wrestled with that idea of morality. It is one of the greatest mysteries of our life. What happens after death? Do we cease to exist? Is there a realm beyond this one where our souls continue their journey? Or are we, as some believe, simply part of nature's cycle, returning to death and dust to dust? Is it? Many fear death. They see it as an end, a void, a darkness that shallows all light. But what if we embrace death not as an enemy, but as a natural and inevitable part of our life? The Stoic philosophers believed in the practice of memento mori. Remember, you will die, not to instill fear, but to remind us to live well, fully, and with purpose. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "Do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." The recognition of death is not a curse. It is a call to action, a call to appreciate each moment, to live each day as it is a gift. In understanding that we are moral, we begin to understand what truly matters. The great existentialist philosophers Nietzsche, Heidegger, Camus saw death not as an end, but as a crucial part of our human experience. They believed it is only facing death that we can live authentically. Jean Paul, in his writings, often spoke of nothing less, of death, the absolute finality of it. To him, death is the moment when all our choices cease. It is the great unknown that defines the limit of human freedom. But is it also what giving life meaning? For if we had eternity, if there were no end, what would compel us to act, to strive, to love? Albert Camus, on the other hand, viewed the true lens of the absurd. To him, life is inherently meaningless, yet it is our only confrontation with absurdity that gives us the power to create the meaning. In essay, The Myth of Sisyphus, Campus imagines Sisyphus as a man condemned to roll up a boulder up and a hill for eternity, only to have it roll back down. And yet, in the face of his endless, fertile task, Camus' form of triumph. He writes, "One must imagine Sisyphus happy." Why? Because even in the face of a meaningless existence, Sisyphus continues to act. He chooses to push the boulder, to face the struggle, and in that choice, he finds his freedom. In the same way, we too can find meaning in life even in the face of death. Yet for many of us, the thought of death actually brings fear, anxiety, even terror. Psychologists have long studied this fear, what they call death anxiety. Why does the thought of death trouble us so deeply? Is it the fear of unknown? The fear of losing ourselves, our identities, our connection to the people we love? Ernest Becker, in his seminal work, The Denial of Death, argued that much of human behavior is driven by a deep, unconscious fear of morality. He believed that we construct elaborate cultures, beliefs, and systems to protect ourselves from the knowledge of death. Religion, fame, success, all in the some way serves as defense against the reality of impermanences. We seek immorality, not just in afterlife, but in how we are remembered, in the legacies we have behind, in the stories others tell about us. Yet, Becker also recognized that confronting our morality can be liberating. When we accept that we are infinite, we are freed from the illusions that we must be perfect or eternal, we realize that it is enough to simply be, to live, to experience, to love, and let go. So how then? Do we live the life, the knowledge of our morality? Do we retreat into fear? Or do we, as the Stoic taught, seize the day and live with intention? When we accepted that time is limited, we began to see each moment for what it truly is, a gift, slow, reflective, with every sunshine, with every breath, every smile, every touch. These are not guarantees, they're precious, fleeting experiences given us to all for a short while. In our modern world, a phenomenon is quietly gnawing away at the edges of our mental clarity. This is not a physical illness or an ailment that can be easily detected with scans or tests. It's something more indigenous, something that creeps us into our minds through the constant flood of distractions, superficial content, and mind numbing routines. This is what we called brain rot, the gradual erosion of mental sharpness, creativity, and depth of thought. Brain rot isn't a formal psychological term, but it captures a disturbing trend in today's digital age. We are constantly bombarded by information, but much of it lacks depth or substance. In the sea of endless data, it's also too easy to drift into a state where our minds become passive, fueled by very content that meant to simulate and engage us. So, what exactly is brain rot? And more importantly, how can we prevent it? Brain rot can be described as a state, cognitive decline, not caused by age or disease, but by lifestyle and habits. Imagine your brain as a powerful engine capable of great feats of thought, creativity, and problem solving. However, like any engine, it needs to be the right fuel. But what happens when you feed it junk? When you deprive it or exercise? The engine begins to sputter, it slows down, and eventually it rusts. This is brain rot. Brain rot also indicates some major problems such as shortened attention spans. We can no longer concentrate for extended periods, flitting from one piece of content without fully absorbing any of it. It also brings lack of critical thinking, where we can simply think like those deepest and darkest things, the deeply analyzations, questions, or challenges. Sometimes ideas becomes weaker. Instead, we accept surface level of information as a fact. Our creativity as device also drops. The rich inner world that once fueled our imagination and creativity becomes barren, overrun by passive consumption, emotional numbers, gradual disengagement from the richness of life's emotional experiences. We become disorganized, apathetic, and indifferent. This slow mental decay is accelerated by our constant connection to the digital world, a world that, while full of information, often lacks substance and depth. At the heart of brain rot lies one of the greatest paradoxes of our time. We live in information age, yet we're starved for true knowledge and understanding. With the side of social media, endless scrolling, and instant gratification, we're exposed to a constant stream of information that is more often than raw, shallow, and fleeting. The nature of these platforms is designed to keep us hooked, not through depth, but through volume. Our brains become accustomed consuming information bit-sized, easily digestible in pieces. We scroll, we click, we like, we share. But do you really think? Do we ponder? Do we engage with the content in a way that challenges or expands our minds? Consider the concept of junk food for the mind. Just as a diet of processed, unhealthy food can lead to physical decay, a mental diet filled with shallow content that can lead us to cognitive decay. Instead, nourishing our minds with thought-provoking books, meaningful conversations, or creative pursuits, we feed it with quick dopamine hits, memes, create seamless videos, and little substance. Neuroscientists have discovered that this type of consumption can lead to literal rewriting of our brains. Our natural pathways become accumulated to seeking short-term rewards, making it increasingly difficult to focus on long-form content or engage in deep thinking. In the equivalent of trying to run a marathon after years of sitting on the couch, your brain, just like your body, becomes out of shape. There's a reason why our attention is constantly pulled into thousand directions. Our attention is a commodity. In words termed, the attention economy, companies, platforms, or even individuals are completing one thing: your focus. Social media platforms, entertainment apps, and even the news outlets are designed to keep you engaged for as long as possible. And the best way to do was not through content that challenges and enriches you, but through the content that is the to digest instantly rewarding. And the best way to do that is not through content that challenges or enriches, but through the content that is easy to digest, instantly rewarding, and highly addictive. The algorithm that govern much of the content we consume are designed to not promote intellectual growth, but to maximize engagement. They feed us content that triggers quick emotional responses, outrage, humor, shock, because they are the easiest way to keep us scrolling. But at what cost? Our ability to engage deeply with information is compromised. Our mental facilities, when sharp and eager for complexity, becomes dulled by the constant influx of stability. We slowly stop seeking our content that challenges us and instead settle for the passive consumption of whatever the algorithm deserves us to serve. One of the most alarming consequences of the brain rot is erosion of critical thinking. In a world where information is abundant, but insanely is courage, the ability to question, analyze, and challenge ideas is more important than ever. And yet, it is precisely this skill that is destroying. When was the last time you read something and truly questioned it? Not just accepted it at its face value, but dove deeper, challenges its assumption, considered its biases, and explored alternative viewpoints. For many, these moments of deep intellectual engagement are becoming rarer and rarer. The superficial nature of much of the content we consume does not encourage critical thought. Instead, it conditions us to accept information at its face value, to move quickly from one idea to the next without fully understanding or analyzing any of them. Critical thinking requires time. It requires focus. It requires a willingness to sit with discomfort and uncertainty, to wrestle with the ideas that may challenge us or beliefs. But brain rot thrives us in environments where speed is valued over depth and certainty is preferred to ambitiously. As our attention spans shrink, our consumption habits become more passive. Our ability to think critically at price. We become more suspectual, misinformation was manipulated by the headlines and sub-boundaries that are dominate our media landscape. Creativity, at its core, is the ability to connect ideas in new and innovative ways. It is the spark that drives art, invention, and progress. But creativity requires space. It requires mental bandwidth, it requires time to dream, to reflect, and to explore ideas deeply. And yet, in a world filled with constant distraction, where every moment of silence is filled with the noise of notification where's the room for creativity and flourish. Creativity does not thrive in environments of conception input. It needs quiet, it needs the freedom to wander, to drive, to play with ideas that don't have immediate answers. But brain rot strives the process. It fills every empty moment with noise, leaving the little room for imagination to stretch its wings. We become passive consumption by content rather than action creatives. As brain rot sets in, another disturbing symptom emerges: emotional numbness. When we are constantly exposed to the superficial content, when we are bombarded with information designed to provoke instant emotional reactions, something inside us begins to shut down. We become disinterested. We lose our ability to feel deeply. The high and the lows of life blurs into monotonous, shallow existence. It's as if our emotional range has been compressed, cluttered by relentless barrages of trivial distractions. These emotional numbers can manifest in various ways: lack of empathy for others, detachment from the richness of our own experiences, and a sense of apathetically indifference toward the world around us. Over time, we lose touch with what it means to be a full human, to feel deeply, to connect meaningfully, to experience the full spectrum of emotions from joy to sorrow, from love to pain. But all is not lost. Just as a physical fitness can be regained through discipline and effort, so too can mental fitness be restored. First step is awareness, recognizing the ways in which our habits and lifelines contribute to the decay of our minds. We must reclaim our time, attention, choosing to engage with the content that challenges us, that nourishes us, that pushes us to think deeply and more critically.